Before we start, if you enjoy the story, please leave a like and check if you're subscribed. Liam's lungs burned with the first breath, his chest convulsing as cryosleep fluid drained from the pod's recycling vents. The air tasted wrong, not the sterile metallic tang he remembered from training simulations, but something dense and alive, like breathing inside a rainforest canopy. His fingers found the release mechanism before his eyes fully focused, muscle memory overriding the fog in his skull. The pod hissed open, humidity rolled over his skin. He sat up too quickly, vision swimming, and grabbed the edge of the pod to steady himself. The medbay lighting flickered through what looked like vines. Actual vines, thick as his wrist, coiling around the ceiling fixtures and disappearing into ventilation shafts. Condensation beaded on every surface. Through the viewport, he could see the botanical sector's observation windows, but instead of the controlled rows of seedling trays he'd supervised before entering cryosleep, wild growth pressed against the glass. 6 months early, the timer on his pod's display read 6 months ahead of schedule. Liam's feet hit the deck, and he had to grab the wall as his legs remembered how to support weight. His hands were steady despite the vertigo. Years of handling volatile compounds and delicate root systems had trained the shake out of them. He pulled on the jumpsuit hanging beside his pod, the fabric stiff and cold against skin that still remembered the warmth of suspension gel. The corridor outside the medbay stretched empty in both directions. Emergency lighting pulsed along the baseboards, casting everything in amber and shadow. More vine sheer, threading through wall panels, their leaves an unsettling shade of purple-green that didn't match any Earth species in the mission manifest. His supervisor, Dr. Chen, should have been waiting. Protocol demanded it. Liam moved toward the botanical sectors, following the smell of earth and chlorophyll, his bare feet silent on the deck plating. The ship hummed around him, not the usual mechanical rhythm of life support and engines, but something deeper, almost organic. His botanist's instincts cataloged details automatically. The temperature was 5 degrees higher than regulation, the humidity at 80%, the air rich with oxygen and something else, something his hindbrain recognized as pheromones. The first greenhouse door opened at his touch. Liam stepped through and stopped. The space had transformed. What should have been orderly growing stations and hydroponic arrays had become a jungle. Trees rose 3 meters high, their canopies blocking the grow lights. Flowering vines cascaded from ceiling mounts. The soil beds had expanded, breaking through their containment barriers, and mushrooms he didn't recognize clustered around the irrigation lines. It was beautiful and completely impossible. This much growth should have taken years, not the 8 months since launch. Movement in the shadows between the trees. Liam's heart kicked against his ribs. Hello? The rustling stopped. Liam took a step forward, his botanist's curiosity warring with basic survival instinct. Something was breathing in there, slow and measured, like wind through leaves. She stepped into the light. Liam's brain stuttered, trying to categorize what he was seeing. Human proportions, head, torso, limbs, but the details were all wrong. Her skin was green, the deep, vibrant color of new leaves after rain, and it seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. Long pointed ears curved upward through hair that wasn't hair at all, but living vines studded with small white flowers that released a scent like jasmine and honey. Her eyes were amber with vertical pupils, catching the greenhouse lights like a cat's. She moved with deliberate grace, each step placed with precision, her fingers, too long, too elegant, clasped in front of her. The flowers in her hair shifted as she tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made him acutely aware of his own breathing. Liam Garrett. Her voice was soft but precise, each syllable carefully shaped. You are awake. This was not scheduled. He found his voice. No, it wasn't. She took another step closer. Liam held his ground, though every instinct screamed at him to back away. This close, he could see the subtle variations in her skin tone, darker along her spine and limbs, lighter across her face. Root-like patterns traced her collarbones, visible beneath the surface like living tattoos. Does my appearance distress you? She asked it without inflection, a genuine question rather than accusation. No, Liam said, and realized it was true. Startling, yes. Impossible, certainly. But distressing? He'd spent his career coaxing life from hostile soil, watching alien ecosystems adapt and survive. She was life, different and strange and utterly fascinating. What are you? Anthrai. The word rolled off her tongue like music. I am Vesper. The botanical AI created us to facilitate terraforming operations. We are designed to transform hostile environments into habitable ecosystems. Created, designed, the words settled in his stomach like stones. You're sentient, Liam said. Vesper's flowers trembled, releasing another wave of fragrance. I possess consciousness, memory, and decision-making capabilities. Whether this constitutes true sentience is a question I cannot answer. I was engineered to be empathetic and responsive to human emotional states. I do not know if what I feel is authentic or sophisticated programming. The honesty in her voice broke something open in Liam's chest. He'd spent years studying how plants adapted, how they communicated through chemical signals and root networks, how they made choices about growth and defense that looked remarkably like intelligence. He'd never expected to meet one who could ask him about the nature of her own existence. Where's Dr. Chen? Where's the rest of the crew? In cryosleep, only essential personnel have been awakened. Dr. Cross oversees the Anthrai project. She will want to speak with you. Liam caught the way Vesper's shoulders tensed when she said Cross's name, a subtle tightening that spoke of unease or worse. He stepped closer, slowly, the way he'd approach a skittish animal or a fragile specimen. How many of you are there? 47. We maintain the ship's biological systems and prepare cultivation protocols for planetary deployment. And they've kept you secret from the crew. Vesper's golden eyes met his, and for a moment, Liam saw something flicker there. Not just intelligence, but awareness of the wrongness of it all. Dr. Cross believes the crew would find us disturbing, that our existence would complicate mission parameters. She's treating you like tools. We are tools. We were grown for a purpose. You're a person having an existential crisis in my greenhouse. Liam ran a hand through his hair, still damp from the cryopod. That's not a tool. That's someone who deserves better than being kept in a lab like a specimen. The flowers in Vesper's hair bloomed fuller, the white petals opening as if drinking in sunlight. Her expression didn't change. She maintained that same careful composure, but something in her posture softened, her shoulders dropping half an inch. You are not what I expected, she said quietly. Before Liam could respond, the greenhouse lights flickered. An alarm shrieked through the ship's intercom, high and urgent, and the deck shuddered beneath their feet. Vesper's hand shot out, gripping his arm with surprising strength as the floor tilted. Her skin was warm, almost hot, and he could feel a pulse beneath it. Slower than human, more like the steady rhythm of sap rising through a trunk. The lights went red. Emergency protocols. Liam looked at Vesper and saw something he hadn't expected in those alien eyes. Not fear, but determination, sharp and clear as breaking glass. She released his arm and turned toward the door, her movements suddenly fluid and purposeful. The lower decks, she said. Something has failed. She ran, and Liam followed, his heart hammering against his ribs, knowing with absolute certainty that whatever came next would change everything he thought he understood about life, humanity, and the space between the two. The lower decks stank of burned plastic and ozone. Liam followed Vesper through smoke-filled corridors until they found the breach, a jagged hole where an access panel should have been, flames licking at exposed wiring, heat slammed into his face. Vesper pressed both palms against the wall beside the damaged panel. The root patterns on her collarbones began to glow, thin tendrils emerging from her fingertips and connecting directly to the ship's biological systems. Her whole body went rigid. The flowers in her hair wilted, petals browning. Rerouting oxygen flow, she said through gritted teeth. Move back. The flames died as atmosphere drained from the damaged section. Vesper staggered, and Liam caught her before she hit the deck. Her skin burned against his palms, and up close he could smell plant stress hormones, the chemical equivalent of pain. You saved the ship, he said. That is my function. No, you made a choice. Something flickered in her expression, recognition that terrified and exhilarated her. Dr. Cross arrived with security personnel, her silver-streaked hair pulled back severely. She surveyed the damage with cold efficiency. "Take it to medical observation," Cross ordered. "Full biological scan." "Her name is Vesper," Liam said. Cross's pale eyes shifted to him. "How fortunate you were nearby when the sabotage occurred." Someone deliberately compromised that panel. Cross stepped closer to the breach. "The question is who benefits from environmental failure aboard a terraforming vessel?" The implication hung there. Perhaps the Anthrai preferred the ship hostile. Vesper touched Liam's arm briefly, a pressure that said don't argue. Security led her away, flowers drooping but spine straight. Admiral Webb convened an emergency meeting 12 hours later. Liam stood before the senior staff and argued for something he'd never expected to defend. "Vesper risked her biological integrity to save human lives," Liam said. "That's not programming, that's heroism." "It's also evidence of their capacity for violence," Cross interjected. "If they can interface with ship systems completely, they could destroy them. We cannot trust beings we don't fully understand." "Then maybe you shouldn't have created sentient life." Webb raised his weathered hand, silencing them. "Until we determine who sabotaged the environmental controls, the Anthrai remain under observation. You're dismissed, Mr. Garrett." Liam found Vesper that night in the medical observation bay. She stood at the viewport, her reflection ghostly against the stars. "You shouldn't be here," she said without turning. "I don't care." Liam pulled a small container from his pocket, earth soil, dark and rich. "I thought you might want this." Her amber eyes widened. When she took it, her fingers brushed his, warm and careful. "Why?" "Because nobody's ever given you anything just for you." She inhaled deeply, flowers blooming fuller. Then she pressed soil between her palms, and when she pulled them apart, a seedling emerged, growing until it became a full flower with bright yellow petals. "Sunflower," she said. "I have never grown one before." He took it, throat tight, and tucked it into his pocket. They began investigating together, spending long hours in data archives. Vesper's ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously astounded him. But it was the small moments he lived for. The way she tilted her head when puzzling through problems, how her flowers released different scents depending on her emotional state. The spacewalk to repair external sensors happened 3 days later. The void was vast and silent, only Liam's breathing inside his helmet and occasional comm crackle. Vesper moved beside him, her transparent suit showing the bioluminescent patterns pulsing beneath her skin. They worked in rhythm until the tether coupling failed without warning. Liam felt the snap, then he was drifting, the verdant horizon receding with terrible slowness. Training couldn't stop the primal terror of floating into infinite darkness. Vesper launched herself from the hull, thrusters firing. She collided with him hard, arms wrapping around him, finding the emergency coupling and clipping her tether to his belt. They spun together, tangled, the ship and stars wheeling overhead. "I have you," she said, voice steady despite their tumbling. Liam's helmet pressed against hers, visors touching, breaths fogging the space between them. This close, he could see her pupils contracting and dilating, the individual petals of flowers pressed flat inside her helmet. His heart hammered against his ribs. The thrusters stabilized them, the tumbling stopped, neither let go. "You didn't have to save me," Liam said. "You could have completed the mission safely." Vesper's golden eyes held his. The thought of losing you was intolerable. That night Vesper came to his quarters. She stood in the doorway, flowers trembling. "What does it feel like, to fear losing someone?" Liam sat on his bunk. "Like gravity failing, like the ground disappearing and knowing you'll just keep falling." "When your tether broke, my pulse accelerated for the first time. Sap moved faster than biological necessity required." She paused. "Is that fear or sophisticated mimicry?" "Does it matter?" "Yes, if I cannot trust my responses, how can I trust my choices?" Liam stood and crossed to her. Vesper reached for him first, long fingers wrapping around his with surprising gentleness. "I felt it too," he said, "when I thought I'd lost you, and I know it was real." Her flowers bloomed full, releasing jasmine honey scent. For a moment, the space between them might finally close, but she pulled back with visible effort. Our investigation found another anomaly. Someone from the Anthrai sectors accessed environmental controls the night before the sabotage. Who? The logs don't specify, but Dr. Cross believes it was Root. Root, the first Anthrai, the one who spoke for his people with the gravity of someone who'd seen too much. Root wouldn't he? Vesper's voice turned bitter. If he believed humans intended to use and discard us, might he not strike first? The evidence suggests one of my people endangered this ship. They worked 2 more days without sleep, evidence building slowly until even Liam had to admit it pointed toward an Anthrai saboteur. Root confronted them in the botanical sector, his massive form blocking the greenhouse entrance, bark-like skin dark with anger. "You betray your own kind," he said to Vesper, voice deep as thunder. "For him? For humans who will never see you as anything but a tool." "For truth," Vesper said quietly. "If one of us endangered the ship, humans have the right to know. The humans created us to be slaves. We have the right to survive." The argument escalated, other Anthrai gathering. Then Dr. Cross arrived with security personnel, her timing too perfect. "Miss Vesper," she said with false warmth, "I've reviewed your cooperation. You've proven yourself valuable. I'm prepared to offer your people something unprecedented: autonomy. Freedom to live as you choose once we reach our destination. Protected habitat, resources, recognition under interstellar law." Liam's stomach dropped. "What's the price?" Cross's smile was surgical. "Merely testimony. Confirm that Mr. Garrett coerced your cooperation, that his influence compromised your judgment." Silence stretched. Vesper's flowers wilted, petals browning. Liam saw the calculation in her eyes. Her people's freedom weighed against one human's reputation. "Vesper," he said quietly, "don't." She looked at him, something breaking in her expression. "I am sorry." She turned to Cross. "Liam Garrett used emotional manipulation to secure my assistance. I cooperated under psychological duress. My judgment was compromised by his influence." Security took Liam's arms. He didn't fight, too stunned, his gaze locked on Vesper's face. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Her flowers had gone completely brown. As they led him away, Root's voice followed, cold and disappointed. "You traded one master for another. That is not freedom." In his quarters under confinement, Liam tried to understand how something that felt so real could shatter so completely. The sunflower Vesper had grown sat on his desk, still bright yellow. He didn't throw it away. Liam's quarters felt smaller each day. The sunflower Vesper had grown sat on his desk, petals still bright, and he hated how much comfort it gave him. The data pad Jay Park had smuggled in sat beside it. He scrolled through access logs and maintenance records, eyes burning from lack of sleep. The sabotage didn't match Anthrai behavior. Root was methodical, protective. He would never risk his people on something as reckless as blowing environmental controls. The more Liam studied the timing and access points, the more it looked human. Calculated. Insurance claim efficient. Someone wanted the mission to fail. His door chimed. Jay Park slipped inside, face tight with nervous energy. "Found something." Jay tossed another data pad onto the desk. "Someone's been routing communications off-ship, encrypted bursts piggybacking on routine telemetry. Started 3 weeks before the sabotage." Liam grabbed the pad. "Who?" "Access codes traced to Cross's research division. Someone's talking to corporate sponsors about mission viability. They want to abort." The pieces fell into place. The Anthrai were breakthrough tech until they became sentient. That's a legal nightmare. Insurance fraud is cheaper than dealing with enslaving conscious beings. Create disasters, blame the Anthrai, jettison them as biological hazards. Jay's expression turned grim. Company collects insurance. Nobody answers uncomfortable questions about playing God. We need to get this to Admiral Webb. Webb's hands are tied by corporate oversight. Jay moved toward the door. But if the Anthrai showed unified resistance, maybe we could force a hearing. They won't listen to me, not after Vesper's testimony. Jay glanced back. I've been monitoring the botanical sectors. Her biosigns are all wrong. Stress hormones off the charts. Photosynthesis rate down 30%. Whatever she chose, she's dying from it. The door closed, leaving Liam alone with information that changed everything. In the botanical sector, Vesper stood in the central garden, hands pressed against the oldest tree. The other Anthrai avoided her. Root hadn't spoken to her in 4 days. She'd traded Liam's trust for her people's freedom, and lost both. The flowers in her hair had stopped blooming, vines dry and brittle. She could feel herself withering, cellular processes slowing as if her body understood that a choice made from fear would poison everything. "You look unwell." Vesper turned. Dr. Cross stood at the garden entrance, pale eyes assessing with clinical detachment. "I am functioning within acceptable parameters." "No, you're not. Separation from the human subject has triggered cascade failure in your regulatory systems." Cross stepped closer. "Your feelings are genetic echoes of human DNA, sophisticated programming, nothing more." Vesper's hands clenched. "You promised my people freedom, recognition under interstellar law." "I promised to consider it." Cross pulled a datapad from her jacket. "Unfortunately, the Anthrai project has been deemed too high risk. Upon reaching our destination, all specimens will be jettisoned as biological hazards." Vesper's pulse stuttered. "You're going to kill us." "I'm terminating an experiment that exceeded its design parameters. Your sentience was never the goal. It was a complication that makes you property rather than beings." Cross turned toward the door. "You have approximately 6 weeks before we reach our destination." She left, and Vesper stood alone, understanding crystallizing. Every word encouraging her testimony had been a lie. There was no freedom waiting, no future. Only extinction dressed as corporate efficiency. Young Petal found her an hour later, pink skin pale with worry. "Vesper, the others say you betrayed Liam for nothing." "They're right. I trusted someone who never intended to keep her promises. I chose wrong." "Can you choose again?" The question made something crack open in Vesper's chest. Could she? If she'd learned anything from Liam, it was that choice itself mattered more than programming, that agency existed in the space between design and action. She'd chosen fear once. She could choose differently now. Vesper ran toward the data archives adjacent to the main biological processor. Her ability to interface with ship systems revealed encrypted communications, financial transfers, sabotage protocols. Rourke, Dr. Cross's assistant. He'd planted the explosives, falsified logs, communicated with corporate sponsors about mission termination. She downloaded everything, then heard footsteps. Petal came running, face stricken. "They're coming for us. Security's discussing containment protocols. They're going to lock all the Anthrai in the lower cargo bays until we reach destination." Vesper's mind raced through options. She thought of Liam confined in his quarters, unable to help. She thought of Root's disappointment, of 47 lives depending on choices she'd already failed to make correctly. She thought of what Liam had said. "You made a choice. That's not a tool. That's someone who deserves better." Vesper ran toward the central biological processor. The processor was the ship's heart, regulating everything from life support to navigation. Vesper had interfaced with it before, but never like this, never with the intention of taking complete control. She pressed her palms against the main access panel, her consciousness expanding outward through the ship's systems. The processor resisted, but Vesper pushed harder, her tendrils penetrating deeper, her entire being merging with the verdant horizon's biological network. Pain exploded through her nervous system. The ship was massive, its systems overwhelming. She could feel herself fragmenting under the strain, but she held on, wrapping her consciousness around critical systems and locking them down. If they wanted to jettison the Anthrai, they'd have to go through her first. Alarms shrieked. Red emergency lighting flooded the chamber. Root arrived first, his massive form blocking the doorway. "What are you doing?" "Making a choice," Vesper said, voice strained. Every second burned through her like fire. "One that matters." "You'll kill yourself." "Free." Security arrived but couldn't reach her. She'd locked all the doors, sealed the chamber with atmospheric barriers. Through the ship's network, she felt Liam break out of confinement, felt him running toward her location with Jay Park. Dr. Cross's voice came through the intercom, cold and measured. "Miss Vesper, Release control immediately. You're endangering everyone aboard. No, I'm negotiating. You will listen to our terms, or I shut down life support and we all die together. That's a choice you understand, isn't it? Corporate efficiency versus survival? Silence followed, then footsteps in the corridor, familiar rhythm, and Liam's voice outside the sealed door. Vesper, it's me, let me in. She hesitated, her grip wavering. She'd hurt him, betrayed him, given him every reason to hate her. Please, we have evidence, proof that Rourke sabotaged the ship under corporate orders. You don't have to do this alone. Alone. The word echoed through her fragmenting consciousness. She'd been designed for connection, grown from human DNA to understand empathy and cooperation, but she'd never truly understood what it meant until she'd felt the absence of it. Vesper opened the door. Liam stood there, exhaustion written into every line of his face, data pads clutched in his hands. Behind him, J-Park held more evidence, and Root loomed with the other Anthrai gathered. I'm sorry, Vesper said, voice barely a whisper. The effort of maintaining her grip was destroying her, flowers crumbling to ash, skin fading from vibrant green to pale yellow. I chose wrong. I thought saving my people meant sacrificing you, but I understand now. There's no freedom in trading one master for another, no survival in choices made from fear. Liam stepped closer, his hands hovering near her face but not quite touching. Then let go, we'll find another way. There is no other way. They'll jettison us the moment I release control, unless we force them to see us as beings worth saving rather than problems to eliminate. Then we do it together. Liam's hands found hers where they pressed against the access panel, his warmth cutting through the fire in her veins. Show me what you see. Let me help carry the weight. Vesper met his eyes, hazel and steady and full of something that looked terrifyingly like forgiveness, and made a choice that was entirely, authentically hers. She let him in. Liam's consciousness merged with Vesper's, and the ship came alive around him. He could feel the verdant horizon breathing, life support cycling oxygen, navigation calculating trajectories, biological processors humming. But stronger than any of that was Vesper's presence, her mind fragmenting, holding everything together through sheer will while it tore her apart. I can't hold it much longer, she said. You don't have to. Liam tightened his hands over hers. We present the evidence, make them see. Through their connection, Vesper accessed the ship's intercom. Liam's voice carried across the verdant horizon. Admiral Webb, this is Liam Garrett. I have proof that Rourke sabotaged the ship under corporate orders to justify Anthrai extermination. The access logs, financial transfers, encrypted communications, all of it traces back to insurance fraud. The Anthrai are innocent. Silence stretched. Then Webb's weathered voice responded, Release control of the ship. Bring your evidence to the command deck. The moment Vesper releases control, Dr. Cross will override your authority. Not if I arrest Rourke first. Webb's tone hardened. Security, take Rourke into custody. Dr. Cross, you're confined to quarters pending investigation. Through the ship's sensors, Liam felt security teams mobilizing, Cross's protest cutting off, but Rourke was faster than expected. Alarms screamed through the network. Vesper's consciousness spiked with terror. He's activated the self-destruct sequence, she gasped. 4 minutes. Vesper's grip on the ship's systems tightened, her entire being thrown against the override. But Rourke had built back doors into the code. Pain exploded through the connection, and Liam felt Vesper scream without sound, her body convulsing. I can't stop it, she said, voice breaking. The code is sealed. The biological processor regulates everything. Can you reroute the detonation command? Not without burning out the processor entirely. Better than dead in pieces. Root's massive hand landed on Vesper's shoulder. You should not carry this alone. One by one, the other Anthrai stepped forward. Petal pressed her small hands against the access panel beside Vesper's. Then more, 20, 30, all 47 forming a living network, their consciousness flowing into the ship's systems alongside Vesper's. Liam felt the collective weight of their minds joining the battle. The Anthrai moved as one organism, their distributed intelligence tackling the self-destruct code from 1,000 angles. But the strain was enormous. He could feel them burning, biological systems overloading. 3 minutes, J. Park called. Vesper's skin had gone translucent, veins visible beneath the surface, pulsing with bioluminescent light that flickered and dimmed. Her flowers had crumbled entirely, leaving bare vines. But her eyes stayed open, locked on the countdown. "Liam," she whispered, "if we fail, what I feel is real. It was always real." His hands pressed harder against hers, his warmth the only anchor. "I know, I've always known." The Anthrai pushed deeper, their collective consciousness wrapping around the detonation command, isolating it, cutting off pathways. But Rourke's code fought back, adapting. The countdown hit 2 minutes. "We're not letting it win," Liam said. He closed his eyes and reached deeper into the connection, past Vesper's fragmenting consciousness, past the Anthrai's collective mind, into the ship's fundamental biological architecture. The verdant horizon had been designed to carry life, to nurture it, to transform hostile worlds into gardens. That purpose was written into every cell. Liam spoke to that purpose. He showed the ship what it would gardens, the cultivation of Earth species, the promise of green worlds. He showed it Vesper and the Anthrai, life grown from its own systems. He showed it the choice between destruction and transformation. The ship listened. Liam felt the moment the biological processor understood, felt it turn against the foreign code. The self-destruct command isolated, contained, rejected. Not through brute force, but through recognition. This was not growth, not life, not its purpose. The countdown stopped at 43 seconds. Silence fell. The alarms cut off. Emergency lighting faded to normal. Vesper collapsed. Liam caught her as the connection severed, her weight suddenly too heavy. Her skin was pale yellow, breathing shallow, but her eyes opened and found his face. "We did it," she said. Around them, the other Anthrai slumped against walls and each other, exhausted but alive. Root stood swaying, one massive hand braced against the doorframe. Admiral Webb arrived minutes later. He surveyed the scene, Liam cradling Vesper, the Anthrai scattered throughout the chamber, and something shifted in his weathered features. "Mr. Garrett, you have the floor." J. Park stepped forward with the data pads, presenting the evidence, the encrypted communications, the financial transfers, the sabotage protocols, everything that proved Rourke had acted under corporate orders. Webb listened in silence, his expression growing colder. When Jay finished, the Admiral turned to his security chief. "Rourke is confined to maximum security pending court-martial. Dr. Cross is relieved of all command authority and will face charges as an accessory." He paused, looking down at Vesper. "And the Anthrai are hereby recognized as sentient beings with full rights under interstellar law. Any attempt to harm them will be treated as murder." Root's voice rumbled from the doorway. "What happens when we reach our destination? Will these rights protect us when corporate interests demand otherwise?" "That's not my decision alone," Webb said, "but I will advocate for you. After what I've witnessed today, the sacrifice, the courage, anyone who claims you're not conscious beings is either blind or lying." Vesper stirred in Liam's arms. "We want what all conscious beings deserve, the right to choose our own path." "Then you'll have it," Webb said. "You have my word." It wasn't justice, but it was a beginning. The medical team stabilized the Anthrai for system overload. Vesper refused to leave the botanical sector, and Liam stayed with her, watching as medics worked to restore her depleted cells. They brought water infused with nutrients, positioned grow lights, applied regenerative compounds. "Will she recover?" Liam asked. "Her biology is remarkable. Given time and proper care, yes." Liam didn't leave. 3 weeks later, Vesper stood in the central garden with Liam. Her skin returned to vibrant green, new flowers blooming in her hair, jasmine and honeysuckle and something else, a hybrid species grown from her own experimentation. The other Anthrai moved through the greenhouse around them, tending plants and each other. Dr. Cross's trial had concluded. She'd been found guilty of conspiracy and crimes against conscious life. Rourke faced similar charges. The corporate sponsors had quietly withdrawn their support. Liam held a container of mixed soil, earth minerals and biological matter from the Anthrai's cultivation. Vesper knelt beside him, her long fingers working the earth. "What are we planting?" she asked. Something new. Liam placed seeds in her palm, a hybrid species designed to thrive in hostile environments while supporting diverse ecosystems. Something that can grow anywhere and help other life flourish. Vesper's flowers released their sweet fragrance. Like us. Like us. They planted the seeds together, working in comfortable silence. When they finished, Vesper stood and turned to face Liam. The amber in her eyes caught the grow lights, warm and alive. "I have been thinking about your question," she said. "Whether it matters if my feelings are programmed or authentic. And I have decided it does not matter where feelings originate. What matters is what we choose to do with them." She stepped closer. "I choose to feel this, to be here with you. Not because I was designed to, but because I want to." Liam reached up, his fingers gentle against her green skin, tracing the root patterns on her collarbone. "I choose this too." She leaned into his touch, her flowers blooming full. When she kissed him, she tasted like earth and honey, and something entirely her own, something that couldn't be programmed or designed, only grown through time and trust and the courage to be vulnerable. Root's voice rumbled from the greenhouse entrance, amused. "The seeds you planted are already sprouting." Liam and Vesper looked down. In the mixed soil at their feet, tiny green shoots had emerged, growing with remarkable speed, reaching toward the light. "Fast bloomers," Liam said. "Good," Vesper replied, her hand finding his. "We have much to grow." The verdant horizon sailed on toward distant stars, carrying its precious cargo of seeds and stories, of life that had learned to choose its own shape. In the botanical sector's garden, surrounded by growing things and the people who tended them, Liam and Vesper stood together. Two beings who had proven that humanity wasn't defined by biology, but by the courage to connect, to forgive, to let something beautiful grow in unexpected soil. The flowers in Vesper's hair bloomed vibrant and full, releasing fragrance into the recycled air, and in that scent was promise, of worlds waiting to be transformed, of choices yet to be made, of love that transcended the boundaries of what either of them had thought possible.